Welcome to the Fawkes Report, the only internet political commentary show named after a 16th century Catholic radical who wanted to blow up Parliament. Now, just to be clear, we're not explicitly condoning blowing up Parliament to establish a Catholic theocracy, but, if that's what you're into, you're going to do you. But we're not condoning that. But this is the Fawkes Report, and it's basically Fox News. And now I know what you're thinking.
And they're actually chanting, Fox News sucks.
But unlike that Fox News, Guy Fawkes News doesn't suck. Now let me give you a little bit of a rundown about what we're about here. Now, my main goal here at the Fawkes Report is to break the right-wing mold. That is, I want to open up the currently existing Republican Party and conservative establishment on YouTube, the internet, and everywhere to diverse and new conservative and right opinions that we don't normally hear from. That is, paleo-cons, populist cons, nationalist cons, libertarian cons. Basically, any kind of con that you don't normally hear from, I want to put those ideas out there. Because I don't want us to always just be listening to the same people over and over and over again in the Republican Party establishment and the internet. I want us to essentially have infinite diversity and infinite combinations of right-wing radicalism. Now, I don't necessarily want radicalism, but I do want right-wing voices to be heard. I want new ideas out there. So, let me give you a few ideas of some of the things that I believe in. So one of the things that I believe in is less wars and less foreign intervention. That is, I want us to avoid unnecessary conflicts and foreign entanglements. I like the idea of bringing the troops home. I like the idea of peace and prosperity. I think there is so much more that we could be spending on here in the United States rather than going out around the world and doing nation building and trying to solve the world's problems. But at the same time, I want to have a strong military. You know what? I don't like war. But if there's going to be a war, I want to win the war. And that's why I want us to keep investing in new and interesting military technologies. You know what? I don't like seeing conflict. I don't like seeing combat. But if I'm going to see combat, I eventually want to see that combat happening with a laser blimp. That's right, a laser blimp. Because you know what? As much as I don't like the idea of conflict in the Middle East, I think even I would agree that the idea of a laser blimp flying across the Arabian sand, shooting Islamic terrorists, would be an amazing sight. And the reality is we have to continue to spend on military research and technology because there's always going to be new and diverse military threats on the horizon. Look at China, look at India, look at all these countries that are building up their military and their technology. Eventually, these people are going to challenge us. And let's not ultimately forget the greatest threat on the horizon. And we all know what that is. That's right, the aliens. Eventually, we're going to run into the aliens. And if the aliens come, and we haven't yet invented the laser blimp, well, guess what? That's going to mean
checkmate.
And I don't want that to happen. I don't want Jeff Goldblum to get involved in this. I want us to be able to defeat the aliens. I want us to have a great military that would be strong enough to thwart even an alien attack. And that's why ultimately, I don't want to just have the strongest military in the world. I want to have the strongest military in the galaxy. And I think if we stay out of unnecessary foreign wars and entanglements, but to continue to spend on our military technology, I think we can pull that off. Just maybe. So one of the things that I believe in is free trade. I like the idea of goods and services flowing across international borders. I like the idea of people being able to obtain new and interesting items from far-off lands. I think that's a great thing. But at the same time, I realize that if we have a trade situation with a country like China, and China has like a 50% tariff on something we're selling, and we have a 10% tariff on something they're selling, that's not really a fair and even trade. We're starting really to lose on that deal. And I also recognize that if we're trading with a country like China, and that country is a potential adversary, and that country is using all the money that they're making from trade to build up their military and their political and economic power at the expense of our own, that trade might actually be dangerous for us in the long run. And we might need to recognize that while we're giving China all this money, China is learning new and interesting moves that they might eventually use to knock us out. And we might have to learn to defend ourselves.
Hey! I learned that from a Chinaman.
I just made that up.
So one of the things that I recognize is that nationalism is not dead. We've been told for a long time that ethnic and cultural and national identities don't matter that much anymore. We live in a globalized society. We're all citizens of the world now. Well, if we look around the world at the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan, the conflict between the Israelis and the Palestinians, all the ethnic conflicts happening in the Balkans, we see that actually cultural and ethnic identities and national boundaries still matter a lot. Nationalism is not dead. And in the modern world, you have to stand up for your cultural and ethnic identity. And a lot of times that involves nationalism from either side of the spectrum. It could be left or right. So nationalism is not dead. There could actually be a movie made about it. Sort of like God is Not Dead with Kevin Sorbo. But this time, Kevin Sorbo, instead of being a Christian professor, would be a radical who starts a separatist revolution in a third world banana republic. The last thing I love is freedom. Freedom. But freedom with responsibility. That is, I want people to be able to do just about anything they want to do. I want you to be able to have your free time. I want you to be able to go where you want to go. But you know what? I want you to use that time responsibly. I want you to go to the gym. I want you to go get a job. I want you to make some money. I want you to make something of yourself. Don't spend all day on the couch watching television. Don't spend all day playing video games. Play your video games. Get good at them. But you know what? Also get your work done. And you know what? If you're going to spend all day playing video games, or you're going to make that the thing you do all the time, at least make videos about it. Become like Jacksepticeye. Make $1 million with it, if that's what you want to do. But be productive in anything you do. That's what I want. I don't want us to live in a world like WALL-E. We're all fat, and we sit in little floating wheelchairs, and we have little robots who do everything for us. That's not what I want. I want us to be responsible adults, and I want us to go out and achieve the goals that we set out for ourselves. I don't think that's too much to ask. Another thing that I'd like to point out is that although this channel is named after a Catholic radical from the 16th century, and I am myself a raised and practicing Catholic, this is not an explicitly religious channel. However, that does not mean that I will ever hesitate to discuss my religious beliefs when I feel it's necessary. If I feel like Christians are being threatened in the Middle East, I'm going to talk about that. If I feel like religious rights are being threatened in Europe, I'm going to talk about that. If I feel like there's something interesting going on in the world of Christian or Catholic apologetics, I'm going to talk about that too. If I feel like that there's a Luciferian plot of Masons infiltrating the Catholic Church at the highest levels in order to reach the Vatican and tilt the church towards nefarious purposes, okay, I might talk about that. But it's not an explicitly religious channel. So if you're an atheist, cool. If you're a Protestant, awesome. If you're a Jew, shalom. If you're a moderate Muslim who rejects all forms of radicalism and embraces Western values. But overall, I want you to know that this channel is for everyone. I don't exclude anyone. It's mostly about challenging the status quo. The last thing is if you feel like it bothers you that we named the show the Guy Fawkes Report, if you're looking at me like a Catholic naming their show the Guy Fawkes Report, isn't that like a Muslim naming their show the Bin Laden Report? Well, the only thing I gotta say to you is, okay, you're probably right. It's probably exactly like that. But let's remember that, first of all, it may very well have been an inside job, okay? Guy Fawkes may not have actually done it. It may have been an inside job. I'm just throwing that out there. But the other thing is, if you feel like it really bothers you, if it's just really getting to you, I would ask you to do one thing. I would ask you to make like Mystery Science Theater and...
Just repeat to yourself, it's just a show.